This is solid ice. It goes for 5 miles from here to the open ocean.
3 gray whales are now trapped in walls of ice 6 inches thick.
You have whales in trouble and you didn't call me?
I didn't call you because there's nothing you can do.
There's always something you can do.
Rachel, I'd like you to meet Fred and Wilma. And this is Bam Bam.
Everything's gonna be okay.
All right, Operation Free Willy, boy. Or whatever this is. Operation something.
Free willies.
Yeah, willies.
And just one willy here. You get 3 of them.
3 big-ass willies. Yeah. Out there trapped in the ice. Boy, how can a whale get trapped in the ice, man?
Because they're stupid.
Yeah, just thought like, damn, ain't that your element? How the fuck did you do that?
And yeah, they may be smarter than any other animal except humans, but there's still a sizable gap there.
Right.
Yes, that's true.
These creatures are intelligent. It's like, well, I think that depends on what scale you measure
Let's
them
look
by.
at the Jersey Shore scale.
I know. They're like, their brains are the size of a human, but the rest of their bodies are much bigger. So in relation, they're big dumb motherfuckers.
It takes them forever to figure shit out. Thoughts gotta go all the way around.
Now, they are California whales, so maybe they just didn't know about Alaska. They just thought, hey, our parents went to vacation there and they said it was great. Let's go check it out.
Okay, well, that's what they get. Shouldn't have been in Alaska in the first damn place.
Trapped in the ice, like, oh wow.
Where everybody go, dude?
We should have made that left turn to Albuquerque.
I told
Totally
you
heinous.
I told you we didn't have time to play ultimate frisbee.
Here's another fine mess you've gotten us into, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting up here talking about how dumb these whales are, but it was sad. This is a true story.
Right.
Turns out in 1988, 3 whales, a family, a mother, a father, and as Elmo says, a little baby got caught up in the ice, man. I guess they were migrating back down south.
I told you to ask for directions. Shut up, Gladys. I got this.
I don't need directions.
Are we there yet, Mom? Shut up, boy. But yeah, the water was freezing so much that a big sheet of ice formed over them, not allowing them to come up and resurface for air except for this one hole.
Yeah,
that was
they
there.
pretty much got trapped to where, and then it started freezing over. So like the little hole they had, well, the big hole they had to come up for air was continuously shrinking.
And they were 5 miles from the ocean, which is, I think some people still think whales are fish. So it's like, no, they're not. They're mammals, so they have to come up to breathe, and they can't hold their breath that long. They're not Aquaman. I don't know what to tell you.
This is set in Point
Yeah,
Barrow,
evolution just
Alaska.
stopped at a certain point for that.
Yeah. I guess I shouldn't say set. This did happen in Point Barrow, Alaska, which apparently is very cold, and also the inhabitants there, they eat whales. So you have 2 things going on here. You have John Krasinski, who plays Adam Carlson.
Yeah.
The reporter's name. Yeah, and he's that fool's up there in Alaska. He got nothing to. This is how boring it is up there. The biggest story about it is how the avocado got to a little novelty Mexican food restaurant there.
The farthest north Mexican restaurant in the world.
Wow.
Heavy duty news.
Did they get trapped just like those whales? They just get lost on the way.
That's how you feel about him.
Yeah.
He's the only white guy there. And it is kind of like, oh, dude, you just couldn't get away, could you? He's like, well, this is where they stationed me, but hopefully this will lead me to a bigger market.
Yeah.
And you can see everybody going like, no,
Now,
it won't.
after the avocado story, breaking news. A guy does donuts on his ski sled on the ice. Yeah, he has a little kid that he hangs around named Nathan. And he's like, hey, man, before you leave, I got one big story for you. So he goes out there and sees his friend out there just riding on this ice jet or whatever. And
Yeah, a snowmobile.
snowmobile, yeah. And
He's like, you got to see my friend's snowmobile tricks. He's awesome. Yeah, the guy's doing donuts. You're like, isn't that awesome? You're like,
Wow.
That's how boring it
it
is.
is the most boring thing. He's about, and it's funny because John Krasinski, he's just about to be like, look, man, I'm about to put this shit down and go. But in the background, you see this burst of water and ice, and it's huge. It's this big eruption. He goes over there and he sees that there's these whales trapped in the ice. And it just so happens that he's the ex-boyfriend of a girl who works for Greenpeace.
The whale is?
Yeah.
And then R. Kelly's in it.
No, John Krasinski, his ex-girlfriend is a worker for Greenpeace, a girl named Rachel Kramer, played by Drew Barrymore. And of course, he's on the phone telling her about it. She just mounts up this whole big campaign to go down there and save these whales. And
well, because not only is she like, one of the spearheads for Greenpeace,
Yeah.
but she's also a colossally annoying bitch.
You know what?
Are we talking about Drew Barrymore or the character she's playing?
The funny thing is, it's like if the movie wasn't self-aware of that completely, that would have really bugged me. But the movie
yeah.
is aware of it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, she's kind of like there's no real villains per se, but she's definitely not supposed to be terribly likable.
She's like somebody like, I want to be on your side. But the only way I can do that is if you shut up and sit down.
Yeah.
you would not making me sympathetic to your
I got
cause.
this.
The movie is, it is cool like that because in any other film, she would have been the hero. And then you would have had all the other people be the villain. No, they don't even try to make her look good. She is the most annoying person. Everybody in the movie is telling her, like, you are going to kill these whales if you keep opening your mouth. Like, nobody's going to give a shit.
The villain of the film is anyone with a radical viewpoint, anyone with an extreme viewpoint, as far as there is a villain. Because really, the theme here is why can't we all get along? True. I mean, that's ultimately what the movie is saying. If we could all just chill out for a minute and find some common ground, then maybe we could solve this fucking problem.
Are you sure it's not the director's viewpoint of why I hate Drew Barrymore? I mean,
We're going to keep coming back to that, aren't we?
I mean, considering how she's always playing kind of like a ditzy, likable girl, it was fun to see her play this role.
yeah, I couldn't help but see the trailer, especially when it started Drew Barrymore and her just like getting in scuba gear and diving, where I'm like, that bitch wouldn't even know how to put on a goggle right. I mean, I just couldn't buy it. It's like the smart, nuclear physicist or something. I can't buy that.
Her being with Greenpeace, that it makes sense. It plays well. You don't doubt it.
So you say it's like any kind of villains in the movie. What I liked about the movie is that how everything came together out of everybody having a self-interest in saving these whales. Like the movie lets you decide on your opinion who is bad and who is good, if that's even the case here. There's everything in this movie. I mean, I'm not making any kind of pun about the gray whales. Everything is a gray area in here just about. The book that is based on is called Freeing the Whales, how the media created the world's greatest non-event. And that's what it is, how everybody gets pulled in. Like, she goes to the mayor of this town, played by Stephen Root, saying, if you don't help with these whales, I'm going to do this. And then somehow that gets over to the president. The president seems to have to mount on this because they have a bad environmental record. The Ted Danson plays the evil oil rigging guy who figures out, hey, there's also a good PR angle here for me to go ahead and if I look like I'm a friend to the environment of the whales, it might make it easy for me to drill in this area. Everybody has a self-interest in saving these whales, which is good because that's the only way these whales are going to get saved.
Yeah. I mean, really, the funny thing is, for all that's going on, and you're like, well, that's good for the whales, and everybody gets their self-interest satisfied, but the poor Eskimos, which I guess you have to call them Inuits, but they're all like, look, this is a part of nature. Yeah. These whales have been dropped in our lap by God. We're going to take them and do what we do. We feed our families. We hunt, but this is what we do.
Eat them.
And they're all like,
we're going to eat these motherfuckers.
You savages.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, but they're like, you savages, you can't do this. We will make you look like you came out of the jungles of Africa if you kill these whales.
Well, that's the thing is the film is actually smart enough to go, look, these guys totally have a point. They're not wrong in their point of view, but this is why they turned around and couldn't do it. Like, a lot of this film is about everybody compromising on their stuff in order to, like I said, find that common ground and go, okay, we just need to deal with this.
It does come down to like, look, if we can find a way to save these whales, everybody can be happy.
Yeah.
Is there a little kid in this movie?
Yeah,
of course there is.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, you guys haven't mentioned a single thing about him.
Well, we did mention the kid.
He hangs out with John Krasinski the whole time.
I didn't mention the little kid because the little kid has a crazy name. It's Amawaga Sweeney.
He doesn't deserve to get mentioned.
No, of course there's a little kid.
He's his Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, the movie makes you think that it's going to be this kid out there hanging out with these adults trying to save the whales, and he does narrate most of it, but it's not that at all. It's one big, like, you scratch my back, I scratch your whale. I scratch your to get you out of this.
Scratch your whale.
They kind of use him a bit for the comic relief here, really. Like, a lot of the bits where they're like showing how everyone's it is about self-interest, shows a sort of kid's view of that self-interest, and, exaggeratedly so. Like, he's out there selling pieces of cardboard for people to stand on for like $40. People are buying it.
You don't want to not buy one.
Okay.
He's if anything the most goofy character in here, the Eskimo Larry and Curly, if you will. But
who is that?
No, sorry, it was a pun. Excuse me.
Eskimo Larry.
Jesus.
I'm numb to your puns now.
I know. I feel like I'm standing on that ice. I'm just numb.
It's so good. I know. I feel like I already fell through.
I mean, the movie has so many opportunistic people in it. Right when you think that See, I don't want to be cynical about this, but I do have to admire the film for not trying to make this a complete family film. Not that there's anything not family friendly in it.
Nothing racy in it.
No, but what I mean is that it's not a good-hearted film at all. Everybody's out for something. I mean, people you see like people come from other parts of the country to save the whales, and you realize, oh, they're just trying to push a product. Like these guys with these heaters that they're going to put in there to like warm the water so that the ice keeps melting and won't freeze up around the whales.
I don't know if I'm that cynical though, because I agree with you. Their original motivation for everyone is that, but as the film goes along, it becomes clear that they are all actually swept up in the emotion of the thing. I mean, even Ted Danson's character, you really expect if they're going to make anyone into a total villain, it's him, but he genuinely starts having emotions about these whales and freeing them.
Miss Kramer? But I want you to know that we all give you the lion's share of credit around here. Because if it weren't for you, all 3 of those whales would be dead now.
You're not as easy to hate as I thought.
Well, neither are you.
Still doesn't change the way I feel about you trying to open up the Arctic Wildlife Refuge for drilling.
Young lady, it doesn't change how I feel about it either.
As it goes along, because how can you not when it's right there?
I'm not saying everybody wants to kill the whales except the Eskimos. They don't want it to go right at all, because that's like a big old fish platter right there.
That's not true either. I mean, it's not like they want it to fail. They're just like, why can't we just do our thing? Okay, fine. But then we're on board with you. We're going to get out here.
Well, ship us some Taco Bell.
They actually work harder than anybody else.
Now that's for all appearances sake. Yeah, they were into it. They were out there like saying, hey, we want to free these whales. But deep down inside, they were at home licking their lips waiting on that shit to go bad.
I know. I pictured an epilogue 6 months later and the place looks like the town in 30 Days of Night. Oh, they're all dead.
Yeah, you didn't see that one Eskimo out there with the whole time he had a knife and fork in his hand? Hey, look, it ain't going to happen, man. Go home. But
I'm so hungry. I don't know why they didn't just, beam him into the Enterprise. I kept wondering that the whole way there.
He's waiting on like Star Trek 4 to kick in.
I know, right? I can't help myself.
We'll take these whales.
Every 20 seconds, the line, Captain, the RB whales here, went through my head.
Man, I wasn't that cynical about it. I know that's the sweet part of the movie, is that eventually everybody gets swept up in it emotionally. But I mean, even then, it's kind of like, well, everybody's waiting to deal with the fact, and this is what probably will be the most unnerving for kids to go see it, because they don't flinch at anything that happens in here. I mean, this is a true story, so they have to tell the truth as it probably happened, as close as they can. Of course, it's a movie, but they don't shy away from potentially really dreadful things happening to these whales. I mean, and that's what kind of keeps it. That's what kind of, and I mean, near the end, you know how things are going to go, but for a while, you just wonder, like, wow, are any of these whales going to make it at all? Is it going to be one of those kind of movies where it's just a harsh lesson for kids?
Yeah, like 8 Below, where 8 ain't what comes out at the end of the movie. Spoiler.
Below 8. As in ain't
Spoiler.
No more left. No.
You didn't have to say that, Leon.
I think people might be taking, as you're saying earlier, their kids thinking this is gonna be just a feel-good family film, or even like people who are like, hey, I love like ridiculous amounts of liberal propaganda, like this type of film usually is when you see these things coming out. But it really isn't. It's kind of right in the middle. I mean, it's a film that you can enjoy as an adult. It's not heavily manipulative or slanted towards kids.
No.
Like I said, if anything, if it has any point or agenda, it's just to say, if we could all just calm down and actually have a reasonable conversation, then maybe we could get some shit done, which maybe is something we all need to hear right now.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, though? Because everything you're telling me, I don't care to see this movie.
Okay, you know that one really good scene in War Horse? It's like a movie that's based around that whole thing where the warring sides get together for a good cause.
Wow.
Except you don't have to sit through War Horse to get to it.
No, I mean, I guess probably the worst thing you say about the movie is that just the filmmaking itself feels like that middle of the road kind of family filmmaking. There's nothing really. There's no real flair to it. There's nothing really there that makes it seem like it's going for any kind of creativity out of the filmmaking, except for the CG of the whales, which is really cool. I mean, in the animatronic whales that they use too. The scene that you're talking about, Drew Barrymore goes in the water, looks great. I mean, it's about a minute in the movie, but it looks great. That's about as creative as that movie's going to get. Everything else is kind of flat filmmaking. But John Krasinski, man, I wish this guy could get a better film career going, because he's just a likable guy.
Yeah, he's got tons of charisma, and what you're saying about it's pedestrian, which is why I can see you sitting there saying like it doesn't like anything I want to see, but it's based on a true story. I don't know how much further they could go with being creative and still remain true to what happened.
Well, the problem is that they've got this character who he plays who's so utterly bland. He really is. And only his ability, just his natural charm makes him watchable at all in it. I mean, I can only presume that of everybody in this film, he's the character who's the most exaggerated past whatever reality was. Like they made up his
the real
own
guy's
little
probably a dud.
stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like almost everything else in here really did happen. So, I mean, that story alone is so interesting. They were like, I guess we don't really need to write a script on the whole. Just kind of, you enjoy this film based on like going, wow, that real story is in fact neat. But I wish they had bothered to give these characters some depth or something interesting to do during it.
It sounds like I'd have more fun reading the actual story instead of watching the film. You know?
Probably not.
I mean,
because well, as Corey, you said it was a non-event, and it kind of is. I mean, it's great everybody got together and saved they saved the whales and what they did. And at the same time, it's not like there's a whole lot of twists and turns to keep it that interesting. It's more enjoyable watching it acted out this way than just reading about it on Wikipedia.
Hell, in a political sense, this is the very definition of when they say sometimes the voyage is more important than the destination, about everything that came together and all these people.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, you go in expecting like this Save the Whale movie, and it ends up turning around to be like this big political film to the point where it was a turning point for relationships between America and Russia during Cold War times. I mean, the way this thing just grew out of hand was crazy, and that's what the real story is here. Dermot Mulroney, man, he must have been in Alaska already, hanging out with those wolves in the Gray. They said, "Hey, you want to hang out with some whales and make another movie?" Because he's in this too. He's so good in the Gray in this movie. He's the kind of character you're talking about, Cyrus, where he's a guy who's there just as a kind of a stock character. I mean, even though the guy was real in real life, they show you the people in the movie who they portray in the film.
I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I wish they had more of that footage.
Yeah, I do too. Did they show John Krasinski's?
No, they didn't.
No.
Okay, I was about to say.
I kept looking for that.
I can't help but wonder if he's all but made up entirely.
Right. Yeah, just an amalgam of other newsmen, other low-level local newsmen. They put together.
He could be.
Now I'm curious if there's actually like a documentary maybe somewhere out there floating around about this, because whenever you notice like actual footage being shot of the people while they're going through this, I'm like, maybe they should have made a documentary instead of an actual film.
Maybe.
Right.
I mean, it's all a bunch of news footage, and I don't know.
I mean, they could have,
it's small snippets.
Yeah, you wouldn't probably be able to sell the movie as much, and probably wouldn't be able to have some of the things I do say are really exciting in the movie, like the scene going underwater with the whales. You probably wouldn't be able to be able to do that with a documentary. And you're right, they probably don't have enough stuff to even do that with outside of just news footage.
Well, not to, I mean, they even say in there they have to film stuff real fast because the cables will snap like dry twigs.
Oh yeah, it was
so
actually
cold. And like, so I can only imagine like the footage that there was like get in, get out, put your shit away.
Wow.
No, it was actually like a less hostile version of The Gray, where you just realize how much of an asshole the cold weather is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the
If
cold
only wolves could swim.
It's enough to like make you get frostbite and everything, but they gotta fuck with your equipment too, like cables are snapping and everything. Yeah. And probably the worst thing about this movie, if I would say there's anything bad, you have Christian Bale, whose character is an opportunity.
Christian Bale, and I missed it. What?
Christian Bale, and
Holy
he's
shit,
out there. They call Batman to come save the whales.
I know, the bat boat go in there and start exploding the ice.
The jet comes down and thaws out the ice. Move, everybody.
The whales get trapped in the ice. He's all, oh, good for you.
No, she's a opportunistic news anchor who, at first, you're rooting for her because she's a woman. They don't want to give her the story. Then she gets out there. She becomes a little self-serving to the point of just being a bitch. And I like the way they flip-flopped her character. But there's this really small subplot, and it's not that good. Who's the guy that is her competition? Like, there's a guy who who works at the station, doesn't want to like go down to the whales, like just a bunch of whales. And then he comes down there anyway after the story gets big to push her out. And that's really one of the big stock villains they have in the movie. What's his name?
John Michael Higgins.
Michael Higgins, yeah.
He's not even in it enough to really feel like a villain. He's more like a joke villain.
That's what I'm saying.
You know? I mean, most of the characters who are like that flat, even she's kind of that kind of a flat villain, where at first you're like, is she a love interest? He's like, no, she's just a one-dimensional whore.
Pretty much.
Whores have dementia.
Yeah, I suppose they really could have cut both of them out of the movie.
No, you could have. The bad thing about it is that it's there. The good thing about it is that it's not there for long. You know, it's a good thing just got that out. I was surprised by the movie. I mean, I felt like you did. I wouldn't run out to see it, but when I was there, I was like, man, I don't feel so bad that I woke up for this. I like to see a movie that I'm surprised by, especially the way when they market it as just a pretty mediocre family film. It's not that. It's not that at all. It truly is a matinee movie.
Yeah, while it is better than it looks by far, even, that's not saying a whole lot either. Even so, I was with it the whole way. I was dead tired and hungover. And I was like, 20 minutes into it, I was like, okay, actually, this has me waking up because I'm interested in what's going on. This is a pretty fucking cool story, all things considered. If it had just been made up, I would have gone,
Yeah.
who cares? But the fact that it's true is like, wow, you're kind of like, okay, what the fuck happened next?
Yeah.
Well, I was alive for that. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I missed this whole thing. I think I must have been high. Anyway, it's a matinee though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. It's a better movie than it looks. I mean, even within its mediocrity, it rises just slightly above that to where you're not sorry that you saw it. I applaud it for the way it handled so many characters. Just like at a point where you felt like you know everybody, they bring some more people in, and yet, you know, it worked. You still like didn't lose track of everybody who was there. So used to seeing movies where you go like, I don't know, I couldn't keep up with them all. Too many subplots,
Yeah.
but it worked. It all came together in a good way. Having that footage at the end to see the real people, it's a good way to tie it all together. You know, even with its flaws, I still give it kind of a low matinee.
Yeah.
Who was cracking me up was Rob Diggle and James LaGrosse.
Yeah.
The two guys from
Minnesota.
who were like extra characters from Fargo.
Well, what was
They're
hilarious?
the ones that brought the heat thing.
Yeah, the de-icers. And Rob Riggle has no accent. So James LaGrosse decided to have an extra super thick Minnesota accent.
Bring it in.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to kill an animal, you kill an animal in one of the meanest ways, as long as you kneel over that dead body and say some I'm nice. Those Eskimos were out there. You knew they were doing that shit for that camera out there.
Oh, you know they were.
They're like, man, all these white folks looking at us. We better get out there and say a prayer and make it think we're noble. Because they're about to eat these whales. They're like, hey, we're gonna eat your ass.
Eat us and curse us at the same time.
One thing I can't say about the movie, like, yeah, it's so cold that it can freeze over in just a matter of minutes. Cables are snapping. One guy's eye gets frozen shut. And just so much throughout the movie, I just kept thinking, why do people live here?
But there's a point where the Eskimos are going, you don't understand. We could go hungry this winter if we don't eat these whales. And I'm like, why don't you move to where the food is?
Yeah, shit. Get in a plane and fly to where we have a Walmart. You know, that's why we build them.
Yeah, there's much more to the United States than this
Shit.
block of ice.
You telling me Walmart doesn't have a fucking place on the last
Shit, I got a prayer for your ass. Get your ass out. Hey, too fucking cold.
The only icebreaker within navigable distance belongs to the Soviets.
I'll be damned if I'm going to let the Reds in to save the day.
Then those whales are going to die. Even though they're big and powerful. They're so much like us. We're vulnerable. We get scared and we need help sometimes too.